Welcome back to the Purely MJ channel. If it's your first time here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Today we're going to be talking about something that people give value, and a lot of people will make a lot of different explanations and examples on why they should live a certain life. Today, a landlord is going to be talking about how some people will choose to forego rent and choose not to pay their mortgage only to people please. I don't want to keep you guys for too long. We're going to dive straight into it.
I live in a bubble where everybody pays their rent, pays their mortgages on time, and nobody is being foreclosed upon or going bankrupt. But unfortunately, when I became a landlord, I was exposed to the different side of the world, the side of the world that don't pay their rent. As a landlord, I got to see evictions happen. I never met anybody who got evicted, but when I became a landlord, I did start to see people not paying rent. And they don't just start not paying rent because they fall behind. They know the system and they stop paying rent the first month rent is due. So when I bought a two family in
Crazy.
Baltimore, I had a tenant that moved in. He had a BMW and he stopped paying rent the first month. The first month rent was due, like the minute the 30 days was over and he had paid his deposit and first month rent. Literally, he stopped paying rent. And it was eviction process from there on out. And what I realized was like, how do broke people get nice cars? Well, if you've ever went for a car loan, you will see that it's pretty lackadaisical. It's really easy in America to get a car loan. So this is why. This is why you see a lot of people work at minimum wage jobs that pay anywhere from 10 to really $20 an hour, and they're driving a relatively newer car. They're driving a car
Facts.
that's like $20 to $30,000 or more, and it's because car loans are scarily easy to get. And even if you can't qualify for like a normal car loan, you can get like one of those busted up credit card loans. Those loans pay out at 10%, but some, mostly men, will go crazy and get 10% interest or more just because they want to drive a nice car to impress the ladies. But this man is broke and he doesn't have a good job and he doesn't pay his rent and he is behind on pretty much all his bills that he can be behind on. I've seen this too many times to count. So every time you see someone with a nice car, do not assume that they're financially well off. There's actually a pretty decent likelihood that they're not financially well off. The nicer their car they have, for the most part.
It's not about the car. And I think she hit it spot on. I think it's about the status, the identity, and more so the psychology, right? We live in a world where we have to people please. A lot of people have a lot of, I don't know, abandonment issues. So I think the first thing when people look at you is what kind of car do you have? They're not necessarily going to see where you live. That's private to you. But the car you pull up in and what you drive is a status for a lot of people. And I think they want people to see that, right? And she's not lying. And when she said, don't assume that if somebody has a nice car, that they're actually well off. I do agree with this, honestly, 100%, because when I was younger, I used to do valet, right? I was a valet driver at nice restaurants and hotels and even hospitals too. And I think I've noticed, even with the valets ourselves, the employees, that when we get a BMW, when we get a Mercedes, a nice Tesla, those people rarely tipped. It was either you were going to get a no tip 70% of the times or you were going to get like a $5 or $10. Just depends on the person, who they are, and if they're actually well off. But when we got the older cars and the Toyotas and the old beat up Hondas or the old vans that have rust all over them, you would be getting $3 minimum 80% of the times, $5, sometimes even $20. And I do think a lot of the reasons why a lot of people want these cars is because of hyper advertising and hyper marketing that is happening with the dealerships and the banks. And she is right. If you don't get the car you want, they can put you in a car that is less than what you expected to come in with. So if you want a BMW, let's say a G Wagon, and you can't afford it, we could put you in a GLE. If you can't afford a GLE, we could put you in an E class. If you can't afford an S, we could put you in an S class. If you can't afford the S class, we'll put you in an E class. If you can't afford the E class, we'll put you in a C class. If you can't afford that, we could put you in an A class. So dealerships are fighting hard and salesmen are fighting hard to keep, right, your business. We live in a society where we have to pay our car because that's the first indicator that people will see how I live, right? And it's very embarrassing because a lot of these people don't really have self-worth and don't have self-respect because the first thing, even we're trying to get a partner or a job or some sort of, an opportunity, is driving a car that you can't afford because the person that I'm trying to impress doesn't know the true me, right? But where where I do live, I'm not going to put importance to it. I don't even have to pay it because I know the loophole, like she said. So it's very scary. And I have a video in the next video that, people will make decisions on their values. If their value is not to worry about where they live, they're going to focus on buying a car that is at $2,000 or $1,500. And a good example is, because context matters, in the next video, we're going to react to somebody that's actually paying $1,500 for a car just for the payment. And this is literally a glimpse of how destructive it is with people pleasing and luxury and keeping up with the Jonases.
How much do I pay monthly for my 2025 BMW M3 Comp? So this car, after taxes and fees and an additional $6,000 in warranties that I paid, came up to about $100,000. Now I have extremely good credit. I'm in the 800s, so I was able to get a really good deal on the interest rate. And after a really large down payment and setting myself up for the shortest yearly term so I can finish paying this car off as fast as possible, my car payment came down to $1,500 a month. Now I also have insurance, which is an additional $500 a month. In total, $2,000 a month just to keep the car. We're not even counting gas right now. Do you guys think that's justifiable?
No. No. This is bad. And this is why you can see how he said $1,500 a month and he put $6,000 of his hard-earned money into a depreciating asset. Listen, money has a language. It's three things: liabilities, assets, and cash flow. This is a liability at $100,000. And now I'm starting to understand why the middle class is just non-existent anymore. They have an obsession with credit. And imagine the hours that this guy has to work, right? And feeling burnt out, feeling stressed out, feeling tired, feeling overwhelmed. But he has to show up to work every single day because he has a $2,000 car payment. Are we being real right now? Are we being real right now? I just think the society of the middle class is to look rich rather than be rich. And I've seen all over social media and all over TikTok that people are saying the $100,000 is the new 50,000. I don't agree with that. What you save and the less you spend and living below your means is going to be a true indicator of how good of a quality your life is going to have. This lady is 100% correct. And I've done property management and I've seen people have a BMW and they're always late, 12 days late on rent, paying with credit cards. I see that. To some point where checks would bounce back 2 months, right? And we had to contact the person and tell them, hey, like you still owe 2 months of rent. And this person is bawling down, crying in our office. It is an epidemic, a pandemic, whatever you want to call it, on financial irresponsibility, financial illiteracy, financial doom. And the middle class is non-existent anymore. It's two classes from now on. It's poor or rich. And what you do between those two lines is how you're either gonna save yourself or you're gonna drown. And I'm just gonna end the video here. I think it's giving me a headache, honestly. It's giving me like secondhand embarrassment just having to pay $2,000 in a car payment on a BMW. Like not even putting services and the oil changes, and he's driving a that's an M class. If one of his turbos goes out, If anything happens to that car, it's $5,000. I have a friend that has a Audi Q7. One of the turbos went out. $9,000 to fix it. So I just think this is a money pit. I think the middle class has learned to finance with their credit because they think credit is king, and they finance things that are going to bring them to their knees. I don't want to keep this video for too long. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you've stayed all the way this far to the video, I appreciate you. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.